Welcome to another episode of the Siege Podcast, a weekly show where we preview the week ahead from a betting perspective. I'm your host, Travis Harris. Joining me, as always, are the rest of the Siege guys, Devin Hadley, Jordan Hadley, and James Roth. College basketball is only 6 days away, which means there are only 6 days left of our 50% off all college basketball packages. Make sure you take advantage of that. Hit us up on Twitter at PickSiege, and we'll get you hooked up. Another very profitable week in the NFL for our Siege VIP clients. 4-1 this week for a positive 3.5 units, bringing us to a total of 25-7 on the NFL season. There's still plenty of money to be made this year, and we don't want you to miss out. $50 gets you all football plays, college and NFL, for the rest of the season, including both postseasons. So now that that's out of the way, let's get into reviewing last week. I'll start off with the question: is Baylor legit? They're 6-2 against the spread this season, 5-1 as a favorite, covering the spread by almost 9 points per game. They're minus 6.5 at TCU this week, with a big test at home versus Oklahoma next week. Baylor, they're 5-0 against the spread at home. I might be getting ahead of myself here by looking forward to the game next week. Could be a look-ahead spot for them. I don't know. I know someone's got Baylor in their locks of the week here, but I'm really looking forward to that game against Oklahoma next week. I'm going to look to lean Baylor there. I do think they're legit. They don't have Charlie Brewer anymore, and all of a sudden they're this great football team again. I don't think that's a coincidence. I mean, look at Utah. Charlie Brewer's not playing for them anymore, and now Utah is all of a sudden good again. So I'm bummed Charlie Brewer's not a quarterback in college anymore, because I just love fading that guy because he's just not that good. But I don't think it's much of a coincidence that all of a sudden Baylor is good again, and so is Utah now that he is not their starting quarterbacks. But like I said, I'm looking forward to that game next week, and I do think Baylor is legit. Dev, any thoughts on last week, key takeaways, or any surprises?
I'll answer your question on Baylor. They are legit, and it's because they're well coached. I forget his name. Is it Dave Aranda or Amada? I forget his exact name, but he's a very good coach. He knows what he's doing. I'm hoping he takes the LSU job instead of Mel Tucker. I'll tell you that right now. He was their D coordinator a couple years ago when they won it all. So he has some ties there, but they're well coached. And the Big 12, the landscape's kind of changed. Oklahoma State, West Virginia, Baylor, those three teams. 5 years ago, you'd think shootout. In today's world, their defense first, because I think they're realizing, defense wins championships. They haven't competed in the college football playoff at all, haven't even came close. So I think these teams are starting to realize, they got to play defense to win football. Baylor does that, and I like their chances to win the Big 12.
Yeah, I agree. I think I like them to win the Big 12 as well. I mean, it's going to come down to next week, which is why I'm really looking forward to that game. James, thoughts on last week? Any takeaways or surprises?
I'll lead off with saying anchors away, my boys. Shout out to Navy, my underdog pick last week, winning outright on Friday. So shout out to them getting it done. As far as other takeaways, we talk about them every week, or at least I do. Georgia, just unbelievable once again. I thought for sure Florida at least would score a little bit more than just 7 points. I thought they would, force Georgia to have to move the ball a little bit more and have a little sense of urgency. But their defense just apparently is once again was unbelievable and shut them right down, and they won handily. So just another week for Georgia. They march on. Other than that, Auburn also got it done. Bo Nix showed out at home. Probably helped that Coral or Kraut or however you spell his name or pronounce his name for Ole Miss. Dude has damn near broke his leg there or whatever happened to him, his ankle or something. So that probably helped their case out, but never really seemed to be in jeopardy for Auburn at home. Be interested to see how they do going forward. They play, I believe, at Mississippi State this week. So see if they can answer the bell there. They're So I think 3 weeks in a row of them playing weak team or ranked teams. So be curious to see how they respond. Texas A&M coming off the bye. So yep, that's about it for me, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean Georgia, they're just in a tier of their own. I saw online today one of those pages. I think it was Old Row Sports. They had a tier of college football teams, and Georgia was in the second tier. And I had a response already typed up, ready to go on the internet troll because I was so pissed off. And then I saw that they were ranking the tailgate atmosphere. So then, luckily, I saw that before I hit send, so I didn't say anything. But yeah, I mean, there. If you were to tier the teams, Georgia would be in one super tier all by themselves, and then you'd have some of the teams following. They're just night and day different from all other teams, and I think they walk to a championship for sure. Jordan, what are your thoughts on this last week?
2 words: Kenneth Walker. I mean, how good is this guy, right? I mean, I do owe him an apology. Last podcast, I said I thought Michigan would shut him down, and boy, did he prove me wrong, right? I mean, the best performance I've ever seen live from, a Michigan State player, that's for sure. But that's all I'll say about that game. I want to talk a little bit about the rankings that came out for the playoffs last night. Like you said, Georgia's in a tier of their own, but after that, it's going to be a crapshoot leading up to these last few weeks. They got Bama at 2, State at 3, Oregon at 4, which I don't know how that order came about, but yeah, interesting to see the disrespect towards Cincinnati and Oklahoma not getting any love. I think everything will shake itself out. Teams could lose. Oklahoma could lose next week, like you're saying, against Baylor. But if they don't, that'll be interesting to say the least. So, yeah, a lot to look forward to. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm gonna have to make a note going forward to discuss the rankings now that they're starting to come out every week for the college football playoff. I think if there is an undefeated in the playoff right now, it's Oklahoma. They just look terrible. Almost losing to Tulane, almost losing to Kansas. I mean, the score didn't reflect almost losing to Kansas, but they almost lost that game. Cincinnati, they definitely deserve to be in. Oregon, that blows my mind. Like you said, that they're the 4th team in right now, but we'll get more into that in the coming episodes to make sure that we discuss those college football rankings because there's lots to talk about there. So thank you, Jordan, for bringing that up. Let's move on to previewing this week. Our clients are already off to a 1-0 start as we sent out. Who am I missing? Eastern Michigan. Sorry, last night +9. They win outright by 3. So fun game to watch if you had Eastern Michigan with us last night. We have 5 more college plays up on our card for this week and 4 NFL plays. So the drill. $20 get you the whole entire card. Hit us up on Twitter at PickSiege. This week we just have one ranked matchup. Texas A&M -4.5 at home against Auburn. This line surprises me. I know Bo Nix hasn't been the greatest on the road, but I don't know what to think here. Does anyone have any thoughts on Texas A&M and Auburn? No. Yeah, it's one of those games that it's the line seems a little fishy. I'd like to lean Auburn, but I'm just gonna have to stay away from that one.
Yeah, Trav, I just think it's the 4th game in a row that Auburn's playing against a ranked team. In the SEC, that's a gauntlet. That's not just even the Big Ten, even that's like somewhat doable. But in the SEC, I mean, you go for playing Georgia, Arkansas, Mississippi. Now you got to go to College Station. I mean, I think good luck to them. Especially with A&M coming off the bye, I think they get it done. But I think it's just the line's just showing that they're casinos are Vegas is willing to bet that 4th ranked matchup in a row they can't get it done. So that's my take on it anyway.
Yeah, no, you bring up a good point. And shout out to Auburn for having that on their if you look at Alabama, another SEC team, I think they're playing New Mexico or New Mexico State this week. I mean, that's just a joke this late into the season, but hopefully that changes. As the seasons come, that we don't have those games this late in the year anymore, but we'll see. There's only one ranked matchup, but there are a ton of other great matchup this week. One of the games that I'm really looking forward to is Wake Forest plus 2.5 at North Carolina. We've said multiple times on this podcast that many of us, if not all of us, think that Wake is the best team in the ACC right now. Huge game for them at North Carolina. Two great QBs who could just sling it going against each other, Sam Hartman and Sam Howell. It's the battle of the Sams, and it's going to be a shootout. Two bad defenses. So if you like high-scoring games, this one's definitely for you. But I really like Sam Hartman and Wake Forest this week, especially getting the points. I like them to win, but I'll gladly take them buying the hook to +3 just to be on the safe side. Couple other games I'll have my eye on this week. Two Conference USA showdowns. Marshall -1 at FAU, and then the game that really should be ESPN's College Game Day. I don't know if that has been announced yet. If it has, I haven't seen it. UTEP +11 at home versus UTSA. Man, if UTEP could have gotten it done last week against FAU, they end up losing by 3. I do think this definitely would be ESPN's College Game Day. UTEP has already blown out their season win total. They've been a surprise for the year. Not a surprise to us here at Siege. We've been tailing them all year long. They've already clinched a bowl game. I'm really going to lean UTEP here plus the points. And then looking at that Marshall game, I'm a big fan of Grant Wells and Marshall. FAU, Willie Taggart's team, they've been playing really well recently. I mentioned they just beat UTEP the other week. But with Marshall's defense, I really think they get this one done. They're returning, I think it was 10 starters on defense from last year to this year. So that defense has a lot of games under their belt, and I think they'll be ready to play. So I'll look to take the herd on the money line here. How about you, James? You got any other games that you're looking at this week?
Well, one slight correction for you, Trav. Alabama plays LSU this week, but you missed it by a week. They have New Mexico State next week.
Oh, next week.
So
okay.
don't worry. You're only a week off there.
Yeah.
But anyway, no, not really a whole lot that I'm not a huge fan of the slate this week myself. But I guess I'll be curious to see, I'll talk about them a little bit. The Purdue-Michigan State matchup, and I'll be curious to see how that game goes. Also, Michigan bounces back against Indiana. You just never know coming off a rivalry game when you blow, especially when you blow a 16-point lead, how you respond the next week, or when you come back from a 60-point deficit to win, how you're going to respond. Both teams could be sleepwalking this next one. We'll see. Be curious to see how those games pan out. Other than that, yeah, not a whole lot I'm really looking at, I don't think so.
Yeah, that Michigan's interesting to say the least. I think Sparty gets it done, but it definitely historically would be one of those trap games for sure. Devin, what about you?
I'm looking forward to Oklahoma State at West Virginia. West Virginia as a home dog has been very profitable this year and last year, I believe, and profitable for Siege. We've sent them out quite a bit as a home dog this year. They're getting disrespected, and they've came through. They even won outright last week against Iowa State.
Plus
6.5 for what's that?
They were +7 dogs, I think, right, or 7.5.
They were, yep. This week, a little more respect. They got, they're +3 at home. Oklahoma State's playing well right now. I don't lean either side in this game. Would lean the under, but it's lower than I thought it would be. So staying away, but I am excited, just to watch that game as a fan, if that's even a thing anymore. I don't know, as the degenerate in us might not let us do that. But yeah, looking forward to that game. And we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, good point, Dev. I I can't remember the last time I watched a football game or any game that I didn't have money on, as sad as it is to say. But I too am looking forward to that West Virginia game for sure. And I again would lead, we'll stick with the trend, lead, West Virginia as a home dog. Jordan, what about you?
Like you said, North Carolina, Wake Forest, I think, is the game I'm most looking forward to. 112 combined points scored last year. Are you kidding me? How could you not want to watch that again? So I think that total's way up there around 80 points, as it should be. But yeah, I'd still lean the over, but I think I'm going to stay away and I'd take Wake with you. So the other game I'm looking forward to watching is to see if Penn State can continue, playing well with Clifford back. I know they lost him. They look terrible, but they cover against Ohio State last week in a competitive game. They got some big games coming up. They could shake some things, in the Big Ten, and I don't know, maybe make some noise. So to see, I think they're -10 against Maryland on the road. So that's an interesting line. I think I'd lean Penn State, but I think it could be an overreaction to Ohio State last week too. I mean, Ohio State was in the red zone 6 times, only get 1 touchdown. So they should have covered with ease, but it didn't happen. And, people could be misleading in that game. So, yeah, looking forward to that one for sure.
Yeah. -10 Maryland could get dangerous. I mean, like Devin said, Tua's brother is the best quarterback in the Big Ten. So look out for those Terrapins. Penn State could be in some trouble this week.
Someone had to say it.
What a wild take. However, real quick about the Wake UNC game. That's the biggest rat line I've seen all year, college or pro. It makes absolutely no sense. Why is North Carolina favorite against Wake Forest, the best team in the ACC, who's playing well right now? They're hot, scoring a ton of points. It makes absolutely no sense. To me, it's a stay away rat line. I don't want to see one. Disgusting.
Well, yeah, I just think it's North Carolina historically has been a decent football program. The average Joe knows them. If you went to go ask some random person, who Wake Forest is, they would be like, what are you talking about? They wouldn't have no idea what conference they're in. I think, Sam Howell has been, touted as one of the top quarterbacks in the draft. I think Sam Hartman goes before him. I mean, I think the guy is much better than Sam Howell is. But, it'll be remain to be seen, and I'm really excited for that game. I don't think it's a rat line. I think Wake Forest is definitely the play, but we'll see. Battle of the Sharps, round 3 here then, I guess. Jordan and I versus you, Dev. We'll have to come up with something for it.
Part of that line could also be North Carolina showed quite a bit of fight at Notre Dame last week. So I'm wondering if that could be an overreaction from that, or if it's truly North Carolina is starting to figure some things out. It's tough to say because, I mean, they went from losing to Georgia Tech, they blow out Duke, lose to Florida State, beat Miami, and then lose at Notre Dame, which is obviously understandable. So I don't know. It, like Devin said, it's definitely a fishy line, but I would lean Wake Forest myself. But that's just kind of curious. That maybe where it's coming from. A little bit of respect from that Notre Dame loss.
Yeah. Anyone have the time game? Is it 3:30?
It's a noon game.
Nooner.
Oh, great. It's a good way to start the Saturday.
By the way, whoever takes the under in that game has big balls. Got to give them credit to do that, but there is no chance you can take that under. Not saying take the over, but if you take the under, kudos to you. Good luck.
Yeah, 80. I mean, that's a lot of points, but I don't know. I wouldn't take the under either, Dev. Good point. Let's move on to the underdog pick of the week. Let me start out by saying shout out Spartan Nation. Huge win last week at home against Michigan, of course. Sorry, James. But I did send out Michigan State plus the 3.5 or 4.5 and sprinkle on the money line. So hopefully you tailed that. Along with James' Navy pick last week, that was huge. Even more, would have been an even bigger hit on the money line if you did that. I hinted at my pick earlier. We just spent a lot of time talking about it. I'm taking Wake Forest plus the points. I'll take them. I'm sprinkle money line too. I would go all out money line, but I'll be safe and I'll buy it to 3 points at where it's at plus 2.5 right now. So give me Wake Forest for my underdog pick of the week. Jordan, let's start with you. What do you got for underdog pick of the week?
I'm going Louisville plus 4.5 at home against Clemson. More so a fade of Clemson. Last week, disgusting beat for Devon's plus 10. Florida State by that Clemson, but nonetheless, he pushes. Still disgusting, but hopefully Louisville. That should be a close game, low scoring, keeps it close. I like the 4.5 at home.
All right. Yeah, that beat was disgusting. We've been on so many sides of a beat like that on the wrong end. I just feel like it never happens to us. We would, if we had Clemson, that never would happen. That's just how it goes. Dev, let's roll right into you then for your underdog pick of the week.
Yep, going down with the boys in El Paso. We're going with UTEP. UTEP plus 11, I believe it is. And Dave Warner, we trust. How many Michigan State fans out there cringe when I say that? But in Dave Warner, we trust. Shout out Coach Warner. He's a Miller Lite guy. I had a few Miller Lites with him back in the day. He's calling good plays here for UTEP. They're scoring points somehow. I'm finally on the bandwagon. I don't think they win this game outright. UTSA is pretty good, but I think they're gritty enough that they keep it close, give themselves a fighting chance, and 11 points at home. That's a lot for a good team. So I'm taking.
Who will be amped up and ready to play too, to say the least, especially if College Game Day is there, because I don't think College Game Day has ever been there. I mean, I can't imagine that it would.
Game Day is going to Cincy.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Dang. That's too bad.
They needed a UTEP to win last week, and they would have gone.
Yeah.
But
if UTEP would have won, they would have went for sure. Dang, that stinks. Yeah, Dave Warner calling plays that are going more than 5 yards downfield. What a concept, and what a turnaround by that team. James, how about you? Underdog pick of the week.
Yeah, I had said it earlier. I'm gonna go with the Boilermakers at home, +3 against State. That line is, I think, gone from 3 to 3.5. I'm seeing 2.5s now. So, I'm thinking State is kind of caught sleepwalking here. We've seen Purdue show up to big games. I mean, they win in Iowa, understanding that Iowa isn't as great as we thought they were, but no offense to you guys, I don't think State is as good as everybody thinks they are, and I think we all kind of know that, as well as Michigan's not as good as everybody thinks they are. So I think just when being in West Lafayette, 3:30 game, I think maybe State jumps out to an early lead and Purdue just refuses to go away and maybe finds a way to win the game in the end. But I'll take the points there. I'll sprinkle some money line too, but normally if I'm really confident, I'll play the fight song like last week, Anchors Away, but not as confident in this one. So I'm just going to, just leave it at that, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, definitely. Historically, it would be a big letdown spot, not only for Michigan State, but for any team in that very same situation. So I don't hate the pick. You know what, James? I hope Michigan State wins by 1. How about that? You win your underdog pick. Sparty gets the win, going undefeated in the next week. That'll be a good game for sure. So let's move into our locks of the week. James, you want to just keep it rolling? Give us your locks of the week.
Sure. Yeah. Shouldn't take very long here. I know Devin mentioned it. I'm going to actually take Oklahoma State at West Virginia. I think they have a little bit of letdown game themselves after upsetting Iowa State last week. It's going to be Oklahoma State now sees these rankings come out, and I think they understand what not that they didn't know that they have to win out anyway to have a shot, but I think with those coming out and with the fact that West Virginia just is coming off the upset, I think they may be hung over a little bit. And Oklahoma State -3, I think they win by probably a touchdown. So I don't think they roll by any means. I think it'll be a close game, but I think Oklahoma State finds a way to get that one done. I'm gonna go with Kentucky. I'm gonna take a money line because I think it's a pick 'em now. So They're home against Tennessee. Tennessee, I just think, this is more of a faded Tennessee than anything. I think that they're just really, really bad. So Kentucky coming off a bye, I think they get it done at home. Next pick's going to be, I'm going to take Houston -13 at South Florida. Again, this is a fade of South Florida. I think Houston wins by probably 3 touchdowns, roughly. Maybe even more. I mean, I would expect more, but I'll be generous and give the Bulls that. But that's what I'm going to go with, Houston -13 in that game. So those be my picks.
I love the Houston pick. The Astros couldn't get it done in the World Series, but time to move all in on the Cougars. Dev, you're our leader of the Locks of the Week segment on the season now at a 12-8-1 record with the push, the awful push with Clemson or with Florida State last week. Why don't you give us your 3 locks for this week?
Yeah, and that's because I'm, extremely sharp. There's no doubt about it. So I'm going to give you 3 sharp plays right here. The first one might make you cringe. It's going to be Wyoming +3.5. Wyoming has lost 4 straight games. So you would ask, why would you bet on them? Well, I don't know if you guys know this, but Colorado State and Wyoming, kind of a big rivalry. And Wyoming has won 4 of the last 5. They've dominated Colorado State, and they legit hate them. Wyoming fans, and there are quite a bit, they look at Colorado State and they think they're scum of the earth. I'll take them as a home dog against Colorado State any day. I don't care what the spread is. They're a home dog. I'm taking them against Colorado State. They'll get up for this game, even though, they're not playing that well. Second pick.
Talk me into it. I was going to stay away from that game, but now I'm going to take Wyoming just because of that.
What's the name of the trophy they play for?
Bronze boot.
Okay. I didn't even know. I didn't know if there even was a trophy, but that's awesome.
The bronze boot. It's a sweet looking trophy.
That's awesome.
Lie. Second sharp pick. This might also make you cringe. Arizona +12 at home against Cal. Arizona's 0-8. Why would I bet on an 0-8 team? Well, they just lost. Arizona did. They just lost by 8 at USC last week. They've been in a lot of games. They're due to get their first win. Cal is pretty bad. Actually, no. You know what? Cal is awful. They're a bad Pac-12 team. They're not as bad as Arizona. But I'll take the 12 points at home. I think they look at this game like they know they have a chance to win. They'll get up for it, and I think they keep it within the 12. Third play. Washington +7 at home against Oregon. Now, the casual fan will look at Oregon and say, oh, they're ranked, number 4. They're playing well, just beat UCLA, just beat the crap out of Colorado, scored 59 points last week. They're going to walk into Washington and roll. Not so fast. Washington at home, prime time. I think it's a 7:30 Eastern game. Fans will be there for it. Washington's defense is still pretty damn good. And I think Oregon looks a little sloppy. I think Oregon still wins, finds a way to win at the end. But, 7 points, I'll take the dog in that spot all day. So those are my 3 plays. Washington +7, Wyoming +3.5, Arizona +12. Fade at your own risk, but these are the sharp plays.
All right. Sharp report from Devin Hadley. Don't know how sharp it is, but we'll see. Real quick on your Arizona-California play, you said California is not a good, or Cal is not a good team. Are there any good Pac-12 teams? I'm not sure.
Well, Oregon's pretty good. UCLA is not bad. Washington's okay, but yeah, they're not great. Arizona State, they just got mollywopped by Washington State though last week. But yeah, I mean, there's some respectable teams. They're a lot better than the ACC. I'll tell you that.
That's fair. Jordan, what do you got? Locks of the week.
Dev, yeah, I can get behind some of those sharp plays you claim to have, especially Arizona. I like them a lot this week. It's definitely a sharp play. Washington also is the sharp play, but I'm going to stay away just because it's Washington, and I've talked shit about them on the podcast previously, so I'm going to keep my money where my mouth is. But first play of the day, I'm fading your Wyoming guys and taking Colorado State -3. like you said, Wyoming's lost 4 in a row, and their last win came against a terrible UConn team by 2 points. Colorado State's just the better team. They played better schedule. They have better wins. Wyoming's not good, so let's just start with that.
Better
That'll-
teams
Yeah,
always win.
that's my first one.
Better
Real
teams
talk.
always win.
Jordan.
What do you got?
So I can come back real quick and say, yes, that's true. Wyoming barely beat UConn, but Colorado State lost at home to Vanderbilt by 10
Yeah.
points.
Yeah,
That's
Vanderbilt
also-
beat UConn.
Just as pathetic. Yeah, but
I know, but Vanderbilt beat UConn.
Still.
They're better.
all right.
But they played Iowa tough. I mean, they're not a bad team by any means. They played Boise tough last week. They're the better team. I'm taking them -3, even though they're on the road. Maybe we'll have to bet something on that game. So next play is Old Dominion -2.5 against FIU. This is just a complete fate of FIU. They're one of the worst teams in the country. So let's lock that in. And my last play is Baylor -6.5 against TCU. Trav talked about him earlier. 1-6 against the spread this year is TCU, and Baylor, like Trav said, is 6-2 against the spread. So definitely, this line doesn't really make sense to me. TCU fired their coach. Also lost their starting QB last week. He's out.
He was
So I mean, I don't understand this line at all. TCU is a bottom 10 rush defense. Baylor averages 6 yards per carry. They're control the clock, control the ball. I also like the under 58.5 too. That's definitely a sharp play on that side. So I'll be taking both of those, but my play is Baylor -6.5.
the only thing that worries me, and I alluded to it a little earlier, is just a look ahead spot, with Oklahoma coming up next week. That's the only
Yeah.
thing that
Yeah,
Baylor gets it done with ease at that.
yeah,
So mine I already talked about. I love Wake so much. I put him as my underdog play of the week. I'm putting him in my locks of the week too, +3. Lock it in. Easiest play of the game or of the year. You can mark my words on that. Marshall money line. I talked about them a little earlier too. I just think they have the better defense rather than FAU. A little shout out to N'Kosi Perry and Johnny Ford at FAU. They're playing themselves in draft picks right now, but like I said, Marshall's defense gets it done. Give me Marshall on the money line. And North Texas -4.5. North Texas is abysmal, but they're playing Southern Miss. And, I've talked about it before. I love to fade Southern Miss. They're just a atrocious football team, even worse than North Texas. And North Texas is bad. So I don't like laying 4.5 here, but I'm going to do it anyway. Southern Miss lost by 25 to Middle Tennessee State last week, who is just as bad. So looking for a repeat there. Give me North Texas -4.5. So there's our 12 picks. Parlay them, fade them, whatever you want to do. Let us know what you're doing. Hit us up on Twitter, which plays you like, which you don't like. Let's make some money off of these. Our free Siege VIP client play this week is going to be UCF -13. They're playing much better without Dylan Gabriel. No surprise to me there. I just think he's so overrated. But we're taking the Knights this week at just an awful Tulane team. Granted, they almost beat Oklahoma, but we like the Knights -13, so make sure you get on that. Again, our entire card is up for grabs for $20 for the weekend. Set alerts on our Twitter to get notified when we tweet, so you don't miss any of our free plays. We've been sending out free prop plays for the Thursday night, Sunday night, Monday night games typically. So make sure you don't miss those. Show us some love on Twitter at Pick Siege. That'll do it for us on this episode of the Siege Podcast. Please share this podcast with your friends. Let's all make some money this week. Remember, always gamble responsibly and let's cash some tickets. We'll be back next week.
Siege comes.